this Bowman guy, who I'm hearing about now, reading a pamphlet that I've been given, apparently he's good. They say that he worked with President Biden to ban ghost guns. And this is an issue to me personally, because in Time Splitters 3, classic, by the way, you should play it, you're hounded by ghosts in one mission when you go underground under the haunted lab. And then you can't fight the ghost, but then you circle around and you get the ghost gun. And then you can fight them.
Have you considered the Ghostbusters? That would ruin their gun situation.
Exactly. Like, what are they supposed to do then? You know? Disarm the police?
We're going to have a lot more ghosts. Keep going.
I don't think we can tie this back to illegals or Hamas somehow. I'm sure. It's nice. Anyway, soon we're going to be commenting, I believe, on the Bowman-Latimer debate, the second one.
Yeah,
the one that just, I covered the first one, and honestly, I'm biased going into it.
Yeah.
I think Bowman killed it. I think he did really good. I think that Latimer is pretty rhetorically proficient. Like, he's not an easy setup, right? He's not like a fall guy or anything, but I think that he's kind of hounded by the fact that he's kind of racist. He gives off kind of racist vibes a little bit.
Right. Yeah, he seems like a Democratic candidate from, I don't know, like 60, 70 years ago, honestly. Like, if he feels completely like the way he talks, the words he uses, his rhetoric feels very outdated, to say the least. He's...
I remember, did you see the first... Okay, well, no,
real yikesy aura from the Latimer guy.
Yeah. 100%.
Real yikesy.
Also, not your country. Thank you for respecting the boundaries.
I'm doing some foreign election interference.
America's a closed culture.
Yeah.
There was this really persistent. I remember this so much stronger than anything else that happened in the debate, where Bowman would get like a few jabs in. And in response, Latimer got like angry. Like, he would talk for 1 second over, and Latimer would be like, mods, like a moderator, that counts as his time or whatever. Like, you're gonna interject me. And I don't know, it's just like, to me, it just sounded like he was saying that Bowman was uppity a little bit. It just is this like passionate, don't you dare speak over me business.
It doesn't even just seem that way, nor is it something that he's only reserving for his opponent, Jamal Bowman. George Latimer, there was that radio interview on WNYC that he did that went a little bit viral online, where a caller called into the show and put George Latimer on the spot about his Emmett Till Facebook comment, where he compared Andrew Cuomo to Emmett Till, basically saying those women who accused Andrew Cuomo of assaulting them basically put Cuomo through what
a Till-esque ordeal.
Yes, where he was lynched like Emmett Till was, practically. That's what he said. And he was called out for that on the radio, and the woman who called in wanted him to respond to that. And she also added this addendum where, and don't say it's, you can't be racist because you have black friends, because you constantly say that, which he does. Whenever it's brought up about George Latimer's black support and his struggle in that area, he constantly just brings up the black politicians and figures who have endorsed him. And once this woman was done talking and it was Latimer's turn to respond, he basically threw away anything she said and just went to the following rhetoric. He said, you're basically not going to vote for me because I don't fit your demographic. There's nothing I can do that will get you to vote for me because I don't fit your demographic.
That's crazy.
And the host of the show even interjected and said, well, the caller didn't say that. The caller's asking you to respond to things, and you're saying something that the caller did not say. And he just went with that. And then he went on to say how he deleted the Emmett Till, Andrew Cuomo comparison post. And it was a moment where he was just really upset and angry, and so he wasn't thinking when he wrote it. Even though that Facebook post that compared Andrew Cuomo to Emmett Till, that Facebook post starts with him saying, so many people are just saying things right now about what's going on with Cuomo. I'm the one who took the time to really consider all the facts, and here's
my well-measured
Yes, here is my well-measured take. This guy is, and you know what the thing is, like, no one is reporting on this stuff. Like, he had to go on this WNYC show and get interviewed by the host who didn't bring up any of this. And a caller, the right caller, someone who was informed, had to just happen to call in, get picked as the person to ask Latimer the question, And it just all had to come together for this stuff to even be put out there. That on top of these other things that have just recently come out about George Latimer that has previously been reported on, because this is a guy who has like 30 some odd years of history in Westchester, apparently. And this part of it I don't care about. It's the second part I do. So apparently he had an affair with this woman. Don't care about that. It's his personal life. Don't give a shit. But that woman he had an affair with, he ends up picking to take a job that pays $150,000 in local politics. I mean, come on. Like, this is ridiculous, and no one's bringing this up. No one's even asking him, why was this woman qualified for this position?
It's a hefty bribe, too.
Yes.
I mean, that's not a small sum.
Yes, like it's
just occurring to me, by the way, the content creator brain locking in, just realized we didn't introduce ourselves. I don't need to, but because it's my stream, I mean, not because I'm self-centered.
I'm Dreg. Hi,
Where can we find you?
Dreg.
All right, that covers it.
There we go. All right. Hi, I'm Matt Binder. You can find me on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Matt Binder. I also do a show called Leftist Mafia with Mike Figueredo of The Humanist Report, David Dole of The Rational National, Rebecca Azor, and Lance of the Serfs. And you can catch me every week on The Majority Report with Sam Cedar and Emma Vigland.
Hi, I'm Naomi. I go by Nominal Naomi on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and it's great to be here with a bunch of other political streamer folks.
So what I was getting out of that is Latimer's bad.
Latimer is bad.
Bad vibes?
Bad vibes.
Same exact tactic in all his debates, where whenever somebody tries to hold him accountable for any of the heinous things he said throughout his career, immediate deflection, no accountability, moving on, and yet, at the same time, he's going to try to crucify Bowman for any kind of honest mistake, like the fire alarm incident.
Oh my God, the fire! That was a question. They
Yeah.
made that a question in the first debate. What is there to even say? First of all, if it was on purpose, it's good because it was funny. And if it was an accident, then who cares? Genuinely, trying to make an issue out of this. I mean, the thing that Bowman is being indicted for here, really, of course, is he's the blade of grass that grew too tall, right? Him being pro-Palestinian made him vulnerable for AIPAC money being dumped into his opposition. They clearly wanted to just cut down a Justice Dem. This would be the first time that a Justice Dem would be ousted in a primary, if that happens. So. And to have it over something like this too, it's just given how significant the stakes are. The fact that this obviously arranged first debate, hey, here's 50 questions in Israel-Palestine, extremely heavily framed ones. Here's the moderator not giving you the same amount of time in the final statement as Latimer was given. And the fucking fire alarm question, man. I can't. It was so stupid. I thought I was entering a fugue state. It didn't feel real.
Yeah, I also hope it was intentional, because it would be funny.
No, exactly. I agree completely.
It's, Democrats say we got to stop rising fascism in Trump's Republican Party by any means necessary, but apparently it doesn't include pulling a fire alarm.
Pulling the fire alarm on fascism.
Yes, seems fine to me.
Not to mention the fact that AIPAC, as much money as they have, has a finite amount of money. For them to dump, 16 million into one primary, and the person they're primarying out is a progressive,
Pretty crazy.
Right, that's really the main crux of all of this that just drives me wild. We are in a time frame where the Democratic base, the establishment Dems, the resistance, the anti-Trump resistance is gung-ho about the only thing that matters is defeating Donald Trump and furthering Joe Biden and his administration's agenda. Fine. Here you have a candidate that's coming in who is backed by Trump's billionaire supporters via AIPAC, who has funded Republican after Republican, January 6th insurrectionist Republicans. And even on top of all of that, George Latimer's come out and said he is not going to back main tenets of Joe Biden's agenda. He already said he's not going to tax billionaires. He's not going to do these major... What's up?
I'm sharing your mic.
Oh, sharing my mic? All right, cool. So he's not gonna back main policy goals of Joe Biden, which Jamal Bowman does. I mean, listen, just because Jamal Bowman criticizes some aspects of the Biden administration and Joe Biden, that doesn't make him less in line with Biden than Latimer. It's quite the opposite. Jamal Bowman criticizes Biden in hopes that Biden and the administration is moved on these policy positions. But all the other areas that they align, Jamal Bowman is completely with. On the other side, you have a Latimer literally coming out straight up and not even saying, like, I'm going to critique that position and find some middle ground so we can work together. No, he's saying, I'm not going to support it. He already said there'll be no George Latimer-backed climate change or any policy or anything like that. Like, this is Joe Biden's, like, core things that he's campaigned on, and Latimer's out there saying, I'm not for this stuff. I mean, if the goal is to get Republicans, Trump-supporting Republicans, out of office and deny Donald Trump winning the election in November 2024, then the guy you want in office right now is Jamal Bowman, not a guy who's backed by Republican donors, who back Donald Trump, who back Republican candidates, who back January 6th supporters. I mean, it's crystal clear. And like the idea that like anyone who's like an establishment Democrat wouldn't be behind Bowman, it just shows that when they say like the goal is to defeat Trump, I question that. Because if the goal is to defeat Trump, Latimer's not your guy. Someone like Jamal Bowman needs to be in there to back the Biden administration on those policies where they do align, and then push the Biden administration on policies where they don't align.
This guy's read the pamphlet. I sure read
I
the
try.
pamphlet.
So Latimer, I was under the impression he was a centrist. Center right?
I mean, when we're talking about where the Republican Party is now, I guess George Latimer is presenting himself as what we would call like a centrist, like a center-right establishment Democrat. But, you know, you have to question, like, listen, even if George Latimer himself does not support Donald Trump and does not support Republicans, and he's not some, like, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing coming in, even though he said he's not going to support Biden's, parts of Biden's agenda, you do have to question why Republicans, big Republican donors, are putting so much money behind him. What do they see in George Latimer?
They see a do-nothing candidate, like Sinema, like Manchin, like that's the last thing we need in this country right now. Like a deadlocked Congress at best is what we're going to get with Latimer.
Even if you know George Latimer, even if you're someone out there who's like, you know, I live in Westchester, I'm familiar with who he is, he hasn't done anything to wrong me or whatever. He's just like, you know, I'm still on, like, I'm not a hardcore George Latimer supporter. I'm on like the cusp, don't know where I'm going to vote. You do have to just question though. Why are they putting so much money behind Latimer? And what you said, that's like the best case scenario.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario, that he is a Sinema. I mean, and when I say best case, I mean like the bar is low. We don't want a Sinema. We don't want a Manchin. We don't want another Fetterman. Like, this is a guy that big money is behind, more money than in any other House race in history. You have to just question why. Even if you don't think he's the bad guy, even if you don't think he's a secret Trump supporter or Republican, you just have to question, what do they see in him? Are they going to string him along and get what they want out of him, even if that's not who he is? And they think they will. And if you're someone who does not want another Trump-supporting Republican in office, then you shouldn't want a guy that the people who are putting money behind those Trump also putting their money behind.
Yeah, it's worth noting that like Fetterman lost his mind over a significantly lower level of support than what is currently being brought out for Latimer, right? Like the idea that AIPAC would unleash this much money to get Latimer in, but not to influence Latimer once he's in, or like that his support. Ridiculous, obviously. Like in the real world, like all money comes with strings attached to it, and this is a huge amount of money. You know,
Right.
Like Fetterman lost it over nothing in comparison, right? I mean, obviously he's got the brain damage thing going for him too, and you know, we all wish we could be there. But like I think like that's what AIPAC wants, or at least what a lot of their constituents or representatives want, is like Fetterman LARPed as a progressive. Hit his head, lost his mind, and now he is not like a centrist Democrat. He's a loon. He's psychotic. He's to the right of Joe Biden and the Democrats at large on a wide variety of issues, and is going on conservative publications talking about leaving the left and how he was never a progressive. And like there's no such thing as a centrist anymore. You get pulled one way or the other. You know?
But speaking of Fetterman, this is a guy who, when leftists criticized Joe Biden, and leftists in office mainly, but he does go after the left, leftist, the broader left, like voters and organizers. And he's someone who's been so stern about the idea that if you criticize Joe Biden in an election year, you are hurting Joe Biden. That is what he has gone on record to say over and over again when the left has a critique of a Biden administration policy. Yet he does the same, and it's okay. Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, you can
Seems
pull them to the right,
Fetterman.
not the left. That's the rule.
You're allowed to criticize him if you're doing it on policy beliefs that align with on policies that align with my beliefs. You can't do it if it's something I disagree with. That seems to be Fetterman's mantra.
Yeah. Also, he's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's apparently he was speeding, and it wasn't like a fender bender. It was like this dude crashed into this car.
He was found at fault.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't like like listen, like even if you're someone who's like maybe like a more like you haven't been paying too much attention to this race, or to you're sort of maybe apolitical, but you do go out and vote. You haven't been paying too much attention to what's going on in Gaza, Israel, Palestine. The idea that like Jamal Bowman could lose because he decided that Palestinian lives mattered too. Like, if you need a candidate who supports Israel, no questions asked, you have 99.9% of Congress. Like, Jamal Bowman is one of a handful of people who've come out and said, I abhor the killing of innocent people, whether it is in Israel or Palestine.
Can you hold the mic to your chest?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Is that good? All right. And he can lose his seat for just basically saying that we should look at...
Probably down to here. So this is meant to be pinned down.
There we
that
go.
should work.
Right.
It picks up pretty wide range, honestly. Even if it was held right there, it could probably get both of you pretty well.
Yeah, all right, cool. I wasn't sure how close I had to put it. Maybe after I'm done talking, I'll finally clip it to my shirt. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing that like, basically Palestinian people with all this money being sent, all these weapons being sent to support Israel, just basically vocally advocating that innocent Palestinian civilians should be considered in this equation too. That's enough to potentially make you lose your seat, have the most money ever spent in a congressional House race be spent to attack you. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I see why 99.9% are pro-Israel.
Right. This is what happens if you...
Hearing that story.
Yeah. I mean, and also it so happens that like, unlike an AOC or Rashida Tlaib, who are in like super safe districts, Jamal Bowman's in a district where he has to, even if it wasn't this year, he has to work to win. Like just like he had to work to defeat Engel when he won the seat against the incumbent in 2020.
Yeah, the incumbent who had been here for like 30 years?
Yes, and the district
Since
was...
87?
Yeah, and the district was a bit different too. And Engel was a AIPAC-backed candidate too, and Jamal Bowman was able to defeat him. Obviously, the sort of political atmosphere Bowman was in at the time was a little bit different. It was 2020, there was a pandemic, voting was different, campaigning was different. Jamal Bowman obviously came about when, Black Lives Matter ascended into like normie, everyday sort of Democrats, lexicon. It wasn't no longer just like a left-wing or progressive thing where they were going out to rallies and marches. It became a thing where like communities that have never seen any social justice activism ever were suddenly seeing, young people march down their street for Black lives. So, Jamal Bowman was able to, use that sort of progressive groundswell that was coming up even in everyday Dems everyday lives, and use that to help leftist policy that he supported win out in that election. Right now we're in a sort of more, I think personally, in 2024, on a number of issues the country has sort of unfortunately gone back on, at least in terms of the rhetoric. We are seeing attacks on LGBTQ+ that we have not seen in recent years, and that's growing specifically against trans people. We're seeing attacks on education. I mean, even in New York City, our wonderful mayor, Eric Adams, who sucks ass, he decided that we needed to give more money to cops. Which NYPD is already the most funded police force in the country.
In the world.
In the world, yes. On top of that, they are, if they were a military, they'd be considered like, I think it's like the 9th or 10th biggest military in the world. That's how billions and billions of dollars go into the NYPD. And he decided that we need more cops in the subways to stop people from fare evasion. And in order to fund this this new sort of position of how Adams wants to use the NYPD, they took funds from other necessities, really. And one of those funds they took from is the New York City Public Libraries, which are now closed on Sunday because they can't afford to stay open on Sundays anymore because Eric Adams cut their budget to send their money to the NYPD. That is absurd that in New York City, which includes part of Jamal Bowman's district in the northern Bronx, in New York City, we've decided via our mayor, people think of New York City, super progressive. There's got to be, unfortunately, when it comes to New York politics, it's a lot less progressive than you'd think. They do not fit their constituency a lot of the times. We have the public libraries closed on Sundays. Now, the libraries here in New York City, mean a lot. They're more than just like a place where people read books. Kids spend a lot of time, especially kids who have working parents. They spend their time in the libraries. Older people spend their time in the libraries, especially during heat waves like we have now, to basically find.
Yeah. Does he have a stand? There we go.
There we go. Jamal Bowman's joined us. Yes. Jamal.
That looks good.
Hi guys, I just wanted to bring Mr. Bowman here and remind you guys that you can still donate if you haven't already. I know you guys probably spend money on weird shit, so sorry.
Just in case people can't hear you.
I know you guys spend money on weird shit, so if you can spend $5 of that dollars on Jamal or something.
She's got your ass on that one. You
Cool.
do spend money on weird shit.
Thank you.
I see you donating your painted Warhammer figures. I wanted to broaden the session because you and I have both talked a lot. Do you want to give a 15-minute seminal on the importance of progressive political action?
I don't know if I can do a full 15 minutes, but just like reiterating what everybody else has been going on. I mean, seeing these changes where we're stripping away community resources like access to libraries and instead investing it into police, you're just going to be fueling the cycle of keeping people in prisons and not giving the opportunity to get better. And it's just terrible to see that kind of change. And having voices like Jamal Bowman, who brought $1 billion into this district, specifically to target this kind of pipeline, has been amazing in Congress. And he's done amazing work in this community. He was a middle school principal for decades, and he was known for walking students home, being really involved, and just an all-around great guy who knows the area, who truly believes in what he speaks for. And really motivated me to come out here.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Jamal Bowman is someone who isn't a career politician. I think that's so important for people to realize. It is extremely hard to get into politics and get elected to office. For people who haven't decided early on that they're going to make a career out of this. George Latimer has decided that he's going to spend 30 plus years in office. Fine. I mean, being a public servant is obviously a respectable thing too, but it also makes it a lot easier for you to campaign because part of your job is to meet the people in your district. So you basically double dip. While you're doing your job, you are essentially campaigning as well. Jamal Bowman is someone who wasn't a career politician and actually had to to leave behind what he decided to do with his life in order to become a public servant. And he took the time and the effort and put his own, family in potential harm's way in terms of, because he's received death threats, and also the idea of like you having to leave that position of having a source of income come in and actually run for office seriously, because you really can't, campaigning is a full-time job, even more so than that. That's why so many regular quote-unquote people do not get elected to office, and that's why there's so little representation for what working people actually go through, because a lot of politicians are just not representative of working people. They are full-time career politicians.
I'm just going off vibe. As a Canadian, I didn't know who Jamal Bowman was. But since I've been here, I've learned a lot, and he seems like he's got a good vibe. I hear he can bench press a lot. The other guy gives off kind of honky energy. So yeah,